Hello, everybody. Welcome back to coverage of Face to Face Edmonton. My name is Haiyue. I'm here with Alexander Hayne, and you are watching the Canadian Regional Championships for the west side of the country. We've been here all day covering day two of this fantastic event put on by Face to Face and sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. We're getting to the semifinals now, Alex, and there's some pretty important decks, very high stakes for these players. I'm sure there must be some amount of excitement / nerves going into these single elimination matches. How do you keep calm? How do you hold your nerve going into these decks?
I mean, everybody finds their own way that what works for them, right? Usually, I like to take a nice walk in between rounds. Go outside, get some fresh air, touch grass, as I think the kids call it nowadays. Get a drink of water, just unwind a little bit. Realize you're playing a game for whatever the stakes are, and you're still playing a game. You're just focusing on doing your best. But some people like to meditate. Some like to slap themselves in the face to stay focused. You got to find what works for you.
Do you want to demonstrate for us? I'm kidding. Oh my God. Great job. Thank you. I'll remember that for next time. Thank you. All right, my friends. We're going to actually just go straight into the match. We have Rob Anderson, who we already saw earlier on here in the feature match area on Is It Phoenix. He's up against Kevin Anctil on Neoform Atraxa, which is a deck we have not seen yet today, but is very exciting. Just give us a brief rundown, Alex, of how this Neoform deck works.
So the Neoform deck, sort of like the Greasefang deck, uses a bunch of cards to fill its graveyard. Then its plan from that, though, is to play Delve creatures like Tasigur and Hooting Mandrills, and then Neoform them, since their converted mana cost, even though you often spend only 1 mana on them, is 6 into Atraxa, which costs 7, which gets you a whole bunch of cards, including Thoughtseize, Stubborn Denial, often another threat, and you can really grind people out while putting a lot of pressure with a lot of disruption.
Okay, I mean, this is some fun stuff here from Kevin Anctil, and it's been serving it well, making it all the way to the semifinals here. Stubborn Denial is going to take care of the charge, of course, with its the front side, the 4-spike side.
So, Kevin, I talked to Kevin a bit yesterday after he was 7-1, and he played this deck in Ottawa, but wasn't really a big fan of it there. But him and Pascal Maynard, his close friend and testing partner, decided last minute to fly out here to play this RC, and so he didn't really have time to test any other decks, so he decided to play this one, and I'm happy to see him in the top 8.
Yeah, what a good decision that was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way to do it if you're gonna decide to travel all the way across the country to Edmonton. Making it to the top 4, certainly a fantastic reward. And we saw some strategic planning there, put a couple cards in the graveyard, as you say, starting to fill it up, getting ready for the delve.
Yeah, like Kevin could play a Hooting Mandrills or a Tasigur here by delving away 4 if he so choose. But Rob, the threat of Rob having a lightning axe or something is potentially dangerous if Kevin wants to be able to turn it into Atraxa right away. So yeah, you're seeing this as one of the key cards of the deck, Haiyue, Founding of the Third Path.
Founding the Third Path. What a fantastic card. So basically, before all of this started, obviously we were preparing this and looking at the deck list, and I was saying, wow, Founding the Third Path. Really, that 23rd card from your limited deck in Dominaria United, and I'd love to see it here. Casting, I think that's Otherworldly Gaze from the recent Midnight Hunt set. So just all sorts of cards you maybe didn't put in your draft deck in this Neoform deck, filling up the graveyard. Meanwhile, Rob Anderson says, I don't need to cast 3 spells. I'm just going to pay 4 mana for this Phoenix the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, just got to get the beat down, because I think the Kevin's deck has a really good late game with getting an Atraxan to play can be kind of tough for Rob to deal with. And this the founding of the third path, filling up the graveyard, you know, enables potentially we might see a Neoform this turn off of a Mandrills or a Tassiger. Looks like Mandrills.
Okay, there it is. Mandrels, Neoform. That's the combo. And we're going to see some of this graveyard delved away first. Looks like it's going to be all the lands to start off with. But the important part here, getting Atraxa from the library, putting it onto the battlefield. And that's going to enable Kevin to look at the top 10 cards and just refill the hand here, Alex.
Yeah, basically sets you up for being able to go off again if you need to. But, finds a land drop and potentially, let's say, a Thoughtseize or a Stubborn Denial to interact with. Even a Fatal Push can kill this, can kill the Phoenix here because the Mandrills was sacrificed.
That's a great point. Now we see it 10 cards founding. Another great aspect of this card, it's an enchantment, so that's going to give you an extra type off the Atraxa. Gets another Neoform as the sorcery, Fatal as the instant, a land drop in the form of Beseiju, and I think that's it. Don't see any creatures in this pile.
Yeah, no creatures, and really neither the instant or the sorcery that I think Kevin's looking for. Stubborn Denial and Thoughtseize really being what I would be hoping for in Kevin's spot. But second Neoform, never that bad. Probably means that taking that instead of strategic planning. Oh, looks like Kevin's changing his mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, taking a second Neoform would, if you have another Delve creature, lets you Atraxa again if should something happen.
Can anything happen? Does this Phoenix really have a way of dealing with Atraxa?
Well, could definitely cast two spells. Lightning Axe and Fiery Impulse, for example.
But Thoughtseize is going to take a look at the hand. There's another Phoenix, which is ready to join the one on the battlefield and the one in the graveyard. Plus, I think that's Galvanic Iteration and 2 lands. Not a great hand to see off Thoughtseize.
Yeah, not a great hand for Rob, but this Otawara actually is one of the lands, and that is an answer to Atraxa. Not forever, because the Neoform Atraxa deck does have the ability to cast it eventually, but
yeah, but that's future Rob's problem.
Yeah. So yeah, we get to see the last chapter, which can cast another Thoughtseize if Rob's hand was good, but Kevin knows that it is not good, so you don't want to put that Phoenix in the yard, or I think which is the card you saw before. Maybe he wants to cast another strategic planning to rebuild, potentially.
Not a lot of options here, right? Just the Otherworldly Gaze and strategic planning.
I think there's Neoform as well, but
right, but no, nothing to sack to it.
Yeah, because you have to copy it right away. You can't. It's not
Right.
until the turn, so it's not really an option for now.
Okay, so it is going to be strategic planning. Let's see. Kevin's going to put two lands in the graveyard. That was a pretty quick choice there. What's he looking for now? Just another Delve creature?
Yeah, another Delve creature and into another Neoform probably. Either that or just some interaction to survive until he can hard cast Atraxa, but that's probably not really gonna happen.
And Fatal Push, the Revolt, of course, being enabled by the founding the third path.
Yeah, it does everything.
It really does everything.
It slices, it dices,
Wow, a whole kitchen. For founding the third path. I'm certainly very impressed. Phoenix is going to get hard cast. That's going to get Fading Hoped, but no scry since it is a 4 mana spell. And Kevin just really does just look like he's buying time until he can hard cast this Atraxa.
Well, Kevin's also probably setting up for just to maybe Neoform another creature, but he's already on 5 lands. I mean, next turn he'll play land 6. and then only one away from Atraxa. It's really not that unreasonable in this deck because you have all these tools to grind out your opponent with Thoughtseize and Fatal Push and so on. That if they answer the first Atraxa, you can eventually cast the other ones.
So Otherworldly is putting 3 cards in the bin, it looks like. Thinking about the upkeep, decides to just go to the draw step. Does Gigantha ever cast a Traxler in this?
I mean, it can. I have yet to see it happen personally, but
never say never.
Never say never. No.
Oh, let's go. That's more third paths.
Yeah. Another strategic planning. See, there you just break even on mana. Kevin's had enough of planning. All 4 of them are either graveyard or exiled now.
Yeah, it's just all off the rails from here on in.
And this looks like it's probably a Tassiger coming down. Yes.
Now, remind me. I think Kevin didn't take a Neoform earlier from the Atraxa.
Right. He decided to take strategic planning instead of Neoform. Probably this strategic planning, in fact, that he just cast. And
right.
So no Neoform yet. There's one near the bottom of Kevin's library in the bottom 6 cards, I believe.
But is there one in the graveyard?
Yes, there is. There is still one in the graveyard, I believe, unless he delved it away. There was the first one that he cast. So that is potentially threatening in 2 more turns when the founding goes up to the 3rd path.
Oh, there it is. It is hiding out there. Okay, so in 2 turns, there's definitely a Neoform. Oh, Galvanic? It's Galvanic time for Rob Anderson, potentially.
Yeah, hopefully something exciting, not just like an opt or consider, because sometimes that's what it is.
Well, I mean, we saw earlier that Rob was not working with a lot in hand.
No, but that can change pretty quickly. We've seen how this Phoenix deck churns through cards between Treasure Cruise and pieces of the puzzle, and another piece of the puzzle here could be a lot of cards. Kevin probably at this point has found another Stubborn Denial, but
what's going on here? Oh, it's going to take a damage from
looks like
the Mana Confluence. It is Stubborn Denial on the... Oh, and I think that's it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's it. Oh my goodness, Spike Out Hazard goes to face. So no target needed. And that's 3 copies of Phoenix from the graveyard for Rob Anderson. And that's game 1. Being locked up there after we saw Kevin Anctil do so much. It spanned so many wheels, found the Atraxa, Neoformed, did everything that his deck wanted to do, but could not stop that 1-turn burst from the Phoenixes. Great stuff here from Rob Anderson.
Yeah, the pain for Mana Confluence and Shocklands and Thoughtseize had and a couple of Phoenix attacks earlier had Kevin pretty low, and it was only at 7, so Rob didn't even need the third Phoenix. Just 2 of them would have been enough, along with the 1 copy of the Spikefield Hazard, but he had more to spare, and that was a surprising turn because it really felt that whole game that Kevin was in the driver's seat.
We get to take a look at Kevin's deck right now. Is there anything you're bringing in from the sideboard? There's a lot of one-offs here, it looks like.
Oh, absolutely. You get to see a lot of cards, so often you want a bunch of one-offs. So anything, against the Phoenix deck, you're looking for hate on spells and hate on graveyard. So Mystical Dispute being hate on, and just Duress being good anti-spell things. There's not really any graveyard hate. So that's probably what I'd look to see come in. We could see Hullbreaker Horror come in as a alternate target. If so, we'll know right away because Gigantha will no longer be companioned.
Right.
Hornet Queen also has the same thing. So if Kevin wants to switch out this Dragon Lord Atarka for one of those as a backup threat, we'll know. And yeah, I expect things like maybe Fatal Push or Fading Hope to get a little trimmed, even though Rob does have, as we've seen his list before, uh, has these ledger shredders. Um, but
Right.
mainly the duress and the disputes are what I expect to come in there. And then for Rob, uh, yeah, I think Negate's going to come in, uh, and yeah, possibly also his mystical disputes and Aether Gust for sure will come in. So we have the classic blue versus blue, dispute versus dispute fight. Haiyue.
I'm so ready. It's my favorite. Just I give me a stack that has 4 or more things in it. That's what my happy spot. All right, let's go down to the action. That was some fireworks there from Rob Anderson to take out the first game, and let's see what happens here in game number 2. Kevin Ansel with the duress, and it's gonna see Shredder plus I think there's 2 copies of Piece of the Puzzle and 1 copy of
Disdainful Stroke,
Disdainful Stroke.
which can hit all the delve creatures, even though they're being spent for 1 or 2 mana.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And so, are you just taking the Disdainful Stroke here, or
It
trying to
depends
limit
entirely on my hand. I
abilities?
mean, it looks like that's what Kevin's going to do. If I had a second Thoughtseize effect, I would consider taking pieces of the puzzle. Uh,
Hmm.
but I could. It makes a lot of sense to take the Disdainful Stroke and prevent Rob from really interacting with what you're trying to
Here we go.
do.
Pounding of the third path. This is making me so happy. This is honestly great. Just Otherworldly Gaze is another pet card of mine. I brewed an incredibly janky standard Delver deck with Valmore and Delver and Otherworldly Gaze. It helps you flip your Delver. Anyway, I digress. Kevin Ansel making much better use of Otherworldly Gaze in this deck, as well as rounding the third path, and it is Ledger Shredder on 2. And what's going to be happening here for Kevin?
Well, Kevin's just milled himself 4, so has plenty of cards in the graveyard to play a delve creature, which I would guess that he has because of taking this Disdainful Stroke. We could even just
Okay.
see we could see an
Even be
Atraxa
new
come down.
form.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. This deck is wild. Just has it on turn number 3, gets the Atraxa.
So yeah, there's a Ledger Shredder trigger on the stack. And now Atraxa comes down, and yeah, I don't know. We didn't see anything to answer it in Rob's hand, and you know might get to go to town. That extra +1/+1 counter too sometimes makes a big difference.
Yeah, Atraxa already terrifying as a 7/7 Vigilance, Death Touch, Lifelink, because of course it needed all of those abilities. And with the 8th point of power as well, certainly a terrifying sight. Let's see what can be found here. There's a Neoform. I think there's another Tasiga Founding. Consider is an option for the instant breeding pool, potentially for the land. Or Beseju. Now, last time we saw Robert Anderson being on the play, had the Otawara to answer Atraxa, but now this time doesn't really have access. Well, we didn't see him have access to it and would not have the mana to Otawara this turn.
Yeah, it looks much more like Rob doesn't have an answer here, and we'll see. The piece of the puzzle maybe can help him find one.
There's one Lightning Axe.
But also notably, this time from the cards that Kevin got, he got a delve creature and another neoform. So
Right.
he's set off to potentially go off again. But one thing though to pay attention to is that Kevin did mill his an Atraxa earlier, and he's only playing 2 copies of Atraxa in the in the main. So unless he boarded in the third copy, it's possible that this is the only one in his deck at the moment.
Right. Oh, and he's responding to the Founding Trigger with Fatal Push and Ledger Shredder to stop the Connive. And Duress is going to be cast with as a copy. And that's going to take out the Lightning Axe. So that's really starting to close the door on the hopes of answering this Atraxa. Still a lot of cantrips left for Rob, but not a lot of time.
Nope. And because of this big burst of life, he's not really going to be able to have a flurry like he did last game to kill Kevin.
Oh, and there's another Tasker as well.
Yeah. So Kevin's presenting lethal. This is Rob's at 12. He's got 12 power. And we might be shuffling up for a game 3 very shortly.
Yeah, I was gonna have to go digging with piece of the puzzle. There's an Arclight Phoenix. Oh, but no Lightning Axe, and can put a couple of spells in the hand, put everything in the graveyard. Is there a way to get this Phoenix back as a blocker this turn? Oh,
no, there isn't.
There is a Lightning Axe.
There's
that
Lightning Axe.
The turn.
And I guess Kevin doesn't have a stubborn denial here.
Okay, all right.
So Rob has one more turn.
Okay, well, Kevin gets to consider as well. Land in the graveyard. Is there any way to close it out this turn?
No. There's no hasty creatures or direct damage in Kevin's list, so doesn't have any way to close out this turn. But just being able to find, let's say, another piece of disruption probably is good enough. It's going to be hard for Rob to really put up enough defense, though. There may be a couple Phoenixes that he can get back, which could maybe do something.
Yeah.
After last game, there's no way I'm going to count Rob out anymore. So
yeah, we've learned our lesson on that. That was some pretty exciting stuff. So Phoenix, I think there's definitely one in the graveyard. There might be another one in that pile, but I'm not entirely sure. We're going to get to have a look along with Kevin at Consider, Opt, and Chart a Course. So plenty of cantrips, and that would have enabled at least one Phoenix to come back.
Yeah, there's at least one Phoenix in the yard.
One. I think it's just one.
It's just one?
Yeah. Okay, it's one Phoenix, two cantrips in hand.
So here Kevin's way ahead, and so he's just trying to figure out how he can reduce the number of ways for Rob to come back in the game. Taking Chart a Course, which is the card that's kind of goes the deepest and can easily be another Phoenix in the yard, I think is one of his plans.
Okay, and he's actually going to play the Founding again, but this time on Chapter 2 with the Read Ahead ability, and that's going to mill 4 straight away. Rob Anderson goes to draw step. It's going to start off with a Consider. Looks at the top. What is it going to be? That's going to the hand. Okay. Here's Consider number 2. So we know there's an Opt as well. So there are going to be 3 spells.
Yeah, Phoenix is going to come back at least. Ooh.
Is that Temporal Trespass?
It is.
Okay.
So Rob's got another turn after this one, as well as a Phoenix.
Let's sure.
What can he do with it?
All right. Gets to untap. What's it going to be? Is there a way? Is there an Asawara? Is there There's another blocker at least.
That's why you never count him out.
Never out of it. This Phoenix deck. It's so much fun.
And I imagine Kevin's deck is lower on removal, so he might not have ways to answer these creatures. So Rob might be able to just chump block with Phoenix.
Okay. Opt is going to scry to the bottom. So that's some good news for Kevin.
Yeah, you never want your opponent keeping cards, even though.
But they get more value, Alex. The age-old debate.
Well, all right, Kevin. Sometimes you're just keeping cantrips with cantrips.
That's bad. Okay, step 1: Fatal Push on the Ledger Shredder.
Okay.
And
that might do it because another Fatal Push from.
From the
yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna do it.
Wow.
And Kevin Anctil finds a way through these blockers to take down game number 2 with Neoform Atraxa. What a cool deck, and what a fantastic game there played by him. Just really piloted that really well, Alex.
Yeah, really, really nice. Thinking ahead the previous turn, putting the Founding on 2 so that he's prepared to be able to push twice. Really, really heads up play, and going to sideboards again. We saw disdainful strokes from Rob Anderson. We saw the duress from Kevin, and we don't know if there's a third Atraxa or not in Kevin's deck, but Gigantha was still hanging out, so Hullbreaker Horror and Hornet Queen have got to be still in the sideboard. And there's nothing really else that
my eternal sadness.
Yeah, I kind of would like to see one of those pop around, but
yeah, we'll get some Monsieur Pinchy.
So I think this game's going to be very different with Rob on the play. A lot of his counter spells become more live. Being able to play pieces of the puzzle before your opponent puts a Neoforms into an Atraxa, a lot of things change, and I'm excited to see this matchup. See if Kevin can put it together again. See if Rob can disrupt him. Looking for another great game 3.
Yeah, let's find out. Let's go down to the action. It's game 3, the deciding game here between Robert Anderson on Is It Phoenix and Kevin Anctil on Neoform Atraxa, both very accomplished players, well known in the Canadian Magic scene, and it's great to see them here in the semifinals at face-to-face Edmonton. It looks like a little bit of a slower start for Robert, just the 2 lands, and Kevin's going to lead off with Consider and likes what he sees, keeps that on top, hoping to deploy something this turn. Let's find out what it is.
So one thing is, of course, because of all these counter spells, Rob's deck is a bit more reactive post board, so you often won't be casting spells as early to be able to, let's say, negate a Founding in the Third Path.
Yeah, get that out of here. That card's way too good. And Rob Anderson with excellent taste in negate art, by the way. The Merfolk one from Ixalan, just S tier. And pieces of the puzzle. It's gonna find some nice cards here. Treasure Cruise, Galvanic, and Lightning Axe. The choices.
So looks like Rob's deciding not to take the axe. Which means we might get to see a double Treasure Cruise at some point. Haiyue, that would be.
Don't tempt me with a good time, Alex.
I mean, if Kevin just does something this turn, Rob could just fire it off right away, right?
Right.
If he plays a land.
And look at the difference between Founding resolving, not resolving. We've seen Kevin Anctil both game 1 and 2 with Founding plus Strategic, really filling up that graveyard quickly. And now this time just has to go with the Strategic on turn number 3, all on its own. That's still going to put a few cards in the graveyard, but nowhere near the explosive power of with the Founding.
Yeah, though even here, Kevin could play a land and play a Delve creature. because they all cost 6, 5 cards in the graveyard, perfect amount. But it is, yeah, huge difference with this founding being countered, both in tempo and just cards in graveyard. Uh, Kevin could definitely, had it resolved, could have played a Delve creature and a Neoform this turn.
Okay, here we go. Tasica. And Rob, by the way, put a lightning axe in the graveyard.
Yeah, which is interesting. Maybe he already has one, or maybe decided that it's wasn't going to be that important. But looks like he has one already.
No, that makes sense. Okay, Tasica goes down.
So are we going to see it?
Is it
Double
time?
Treasure Cruise?
Hello, Galvanic and
Wow.
Treasure Cruiser. Let's go. How
And even
about
gets to
drawing
keep
6 cards?
and even gets to keep the Galvanic for later.
Oh,
Haiyue, that is the
perfect.
dream.
It is the dream. Oh my
How's
goodness, full grip.
Do you like Ancestral? How about double Ancestral?
I mean, that sounds better than 1 Ancestral, but who am I to judge?
And,
oh no, put Giganther in hand? That can't be a good sign.
Yeah, it's a good sign if you're a Rob Anderson fan, I would say. I mean, Kevin's got a lot of rebuilding to do. The Delve creatures, they're tough because they require a bunch of build-up, and since his founding was countered, he doesn't have enough graveyard cards to really replay another one. So huge difference this game. Rob kind of spinning all his wheels versus last game, Kevin having free reign.
Okay, let's see what Rob can do with the 6 cards drawn last turn. It's going to be a Consider to begin with and a Pass back. So not a lot to deploy on his own turn. No Phoenixes in sight, no Ledger Shredders. So maybe not necessarily finding what he needs here, or maybe finding a bit more of a reactive hand, Alex. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I would guess more reactive hand. The Phoenix deck doesn't play that many lands, so Rob flipping through his cards, I can see some little bits of blue. So probably a Disdainful Stroke maybe ready here. Oh,
well, gotta opt first. Keep that on top.
I'm gonna dispute.
It's Mystical Debut. Okay. And that dashes our dreams of watching Gigantha cast Atraxa from hand.
We again have seen one Atraxa is now in the exile zone for Kevin.
Right. Okay, and here Spikefield has it being played as the landside, Spikefield Caves, I believe. And Ledger Shredder is the threat that's going to be deployed.